and things that you've seen in working with parents of elite athletes or parents along this journey.
I think that I don't have as many tried and true um, examples to be able to give you about, oh, I did this and then that produced this result, and therefore, this becomes now something that you should look at. I'm more, I'm more at a point where I'm like learning from my mistakes and trying to, like, if I had to do it again and I was in charge of a group, a team, and I had a bunch of kids with parents, what would I do differently to just help the environment, help facilitate the teaching environment to a point in which I could get advocates instead of adversaries, in terms of the way in which these parents are impacting my program. And I've come to the conclusion that if I had to do it again and I was responsible for a group, I would educate the parents on what it is that I need, what my approach is and what my attitude is towards a few key items. Like, I'm not saying like you become this open book and like you tell them everything about what's going on. I'm just saying like a few things that are really important. Like, a kid has to play. A kid can't get sad. Like, if I'm coaching a 12-year-old team, I know now that if a 12-year-old little boy or little girl is the sixth defenseman on the team, and we get to the last 3 minutes of the game and their shift is up next, and I put two kids in front of her or him, I know that the impact that that has developmentally on that player is not worth any benefit that I can perceive that I might get. It just isn't worth it. I may as well move that player to another team after that's done, because the probability of me being able to gain trust, to be able to positively impact that player, to create to reduce the anxiety of the last 2 or 3 minutes of a game for that player, to reduce the anxiety of puck touches that they're worried that if they make one mistake that they're going to preclude themselves from being able to finish the game with their teammates. I feel like I need to explain that, and that I will not eliminate a player or move a player from the line. If I pick them, they're playing. That's it. And they're going to get a regular shift, and that's the ball game. And there's going to be no, because the impact, the detrimental impact that it has on that player, and conversely, or not conversely, but in addition to, the message it sends to my top defenseman, whom I'm now giving that ice time to, as it relates to the way in which they view that kid on their team, is also not worth it to me, because they need to view that player on their team like a teammate and a competitive person that they should be trying to help and encourage, and not like step on top of to get extra ice when the time comes where the game needs to be decided. And I would say, if your son or daughter would like to impact the game, and we are going to play two 12-minute games, two 12-minute periods and a 15, then you should probably do it in the time that's before the last 3 minutes of the game. Like, where have you been earlier is what my question to you is. If you need me to cut this kid her ice time or his ice time in order for you to positively impact the game, where the hell have you been for the previous 30 minutes? I think that educating parents on issues like that, on issues like the impact of positive impact of failure and the way we shape failure, that is a critical component that we need to do. And I believe I would do a much better job of 3 or 4 things I would be really communicative on that I never did in the past, if that answers your question.
So awesome, Darryl. So awesome. I mean, that's
I have
great.
to bring up the point, Tim. I didn't put my hand up, but Darryl, we've worked on. I've been living this problem, and in 1990 we created a mission statement exercise with Dave King because ethics in coaching was a problem, and precisely as what you're saying is what happens. It's not just that last minute. They shorten the bench in whole ice hockey from the get go, so kids are playing special teams. So they're basically not transmitting belief. It is a shit show, and the kids don't deserve it.
Yes.
So that's another time and another topic. And if you'd ever like to, if we ever can find the time to run through the exercise, Dave and I put it together to be a part of coach certification. So as they went up the ladder, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back in our day, they would be educated about the impact and the importance of development and life skills to be the best you can be. Anyway, the question, I'm going to leave that because that's another topic. But thank you. That's one I'm going to edit for my mission statement. Mission and the years I've got left in my life
I
here.
have one more piece to that. I have one more piece to that to add, and
Go
that
ahead.
is when we do those sorts of things, we are perpetuating the achievement gap or the the competency bias. And if I have one regret for my book, it's that I didn't spend enough time really explaining what I mean. I feel like I touched on it, and it was like one of those like I wanted it to be a conversation point, but I feel like I should have done a better job of really over explaining the achievement gap and the competency bias in which we perpetuate when we ineffectively we demean kids to the benefit of others, and with no real reason other than there's a competency bias to which now I have free reign to impact how you feel about yourself as a 12-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid or 8-year-old kid. We don't have the right to do that. And the competency bias and the achievement gap is not something that we should be leveraging. It's rather something that we should be trying to influence, positively influence. So this is not to say that my ninth forward or my sixth defenseman, I want to stop the development of the best kids to make sure that these kids at the bottom get a chance to catch up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to improve every kid at whatever pace or level in which they are capable of doing at that time. And who's to say that the kid you sit at 8 years old or 9 years old is not going to be the best player in your age group in your town? You don't know that. You don't know that. But what you're trying to tell me at times, the argument I hear is, well, that kid that gets sad, it lights a fire in their belly and they come to overcome. I'm pretty sure I can light a fire without demeaning that player. I'm pretty sure I can do it. And I don't think we need to do that school of hard knocks anymore. I think as a society we're better than that. And I I've had it in my kid's life where she is the benefit or the benefactor of these things going on. And every time it's been situations in which I've said to the coach, I don't want that. Do not overplay my kid to the exclusion of someone else. I don't want my kid to feel like she's better than anybody. She's not. She's at a certain stage where she's a little bit ahead, but that doesn't mean that she's always going to be ahead. And and the fact that I'm doing this to this player is fundamentally humanly wrong. And we have to stop its practice, and we need to do things to build kids and not perpetuate the competency bias and the achievement gap, but rather try to improve all the kids. And I think it's important to say, and like I said, I'm really mad at myself for not, it's a big part of what I believe in as part of development. And I feel like I dropped the ball by not overly explaining that. So I wanted to take the time now to really, like, you opened the door, Wally, so I felt like I need to kick it open.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad you did, because I'm going to edit this portion. Tom Rennie is adamant that this exercise be a part of coach certification in Coach 1, right up the ladder. Adapted, the principle's the same. Doesn't matter if it's novice. When you look at AA and AAA, they shorten the bench at the beginning of the year. They've picked those players as being the best players. So, at the competitive levels, and I'm talking Claire Drake and Murray Smith at the University of Alberta, and why they've won 29 championships on the male and female side. They play everybody for development in the first half, and everybody that earns their roles, but they have a role in the second half. And that doesn't happen at competitive levels. It happens.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing. The other
Yeah.
thing that irritates me, now that we're on this topic, is I don't want to see a 12-year-old AAA level. I don't want to see the best player in the league or on my team. I don't want to see him out there against the other team's third line. I want to see the best player on my team is going to go against the best player on your team, because that's the best use of their time. There's no sense me being a great coach and manipulating the situation in which I can create a matchup advantage because maybe I have more depth than the other coach. And now I'm going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to stack the deck in the favor of my top player so that he can acquire points against a kid who is not at that level. I don't know that we have to do a better job of line matching so that we can perpetuate development or influence development. And I feel like we do a lot of coaching, and I'm guilty of it. Hey, I am top of the food chain, first in line, guilty as charged of doing all of this stuff. Everything I'm telling you that we shouldn't be doing, I've done. I've sat kids. I've put my best player against your third line. I saw a kid out there for an extended shift, and I put my best player out there to get every advantage I could to win games, and I thought I was a great coach because of it. However, in hindsight, as I learn more about how kids are and the development of kids, I now know more about how negative impact that can have on every kid involved, not just the kid at the bottom. Every kid gets a negative impact on that. And it's for those reasons, if I ever had a chance to do it differently, I would.